All right. Why don't we say hi to Jonathan Gold? He's on line 12. We have another fine guest to the radio program, thanks to Ben. Hey, Jonathan, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Morning, Mr. Gold.
What are you about? I don't even know. Oh, you're the 9/11 guy, right?
Yeah, I'm the 9/11 guy.
You have a book? What do you got?
Well, first off, thanks for that internet porn song. I can't get it out of my fucking head.
Yeah, it sticks there, doesn't it?
Yeah, nice song. What am I about? The truth about 9/11.
The truth. Now, as most people know, the truth is a bunch of animals decided to get at the United States by loading themselves onto some planes, taking them over, and crashing into various symbolic buildings across the country.
The official story states that 19 hijackers decided to take some planes and fly them into buildings.
Now, your opinion of this is different than what everybody says?
My opinion of the hijackers isn't necessarily different. However, I do believe that either our government allowed for these attacks or they purposefully planned them.
All right, Mulder.
Mr. Gold, you sent some questions for us to possibly ask, so I'll kind of go through. How did you get interested in the truth about 9/11?
Well, I've always had an inquisitive nature.
Who cares?
And some things didn't add up. I mean...
shut up.
Just think about it. The Bush administration blocked the creation of the commission.
No, they didn't.
They appointed the commission themselves, which to me
so
is
what?
like
It means
a
nothing,
murderer
stupid.
Or a murderer appointing his own jury.
Wait, a murderer appointing his own jury?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I mean,
that would imply that George Bush and his administration did have responsibility for 9/11.
Yeah, that's what I'm implying.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay.
And can we read this in a book?
There are several. Absolutely, there are several.
No, I mean books that you have written?
No, I was a contributor to the 9/11 omissions dossier, which was written by 911truth.org.
You idiot. Was Mohammed Atta behind the grassy knoll?
I didn't write a book. I don't have the time for that.
Now, let me ask you a question. What evidence do you have that kind of point? Because I've been trying to find evidence about the Pentagon. Supposedly Flight 77 never hit the Pentagon. What evidence do you have, or can you direct us to?
Okay. First off, in regards to...
You're a nut and a bore.
Missiles hitting Pentagons, remote-controlled airplanes, I try to avoid all of those things because they don't help me. To give you an understanding...
What does help you, Paxil?
The Zapruder film clearly showed that JFK was shot from the front. I mean, clearly showed that.
JFK.
JFK, yes.
I'm sorry?
JFK?
Yeah, JFK. Just think about that. The Zapruder film clearly showed that he was shot from the front. You know, what has that done for us 40 years later? We still don't know what killed him. And the reason is because of magic bullet theories, missiles hitting Pentagons, remote-controlled airplanes. Those don't help me at all. I'd rather focus on the why it happened as opposed to the how. I mean, the how is easy. They flew planes in the building.
You sound like Donald Sutherland and JFK. You're a rip-off and a tedious asshole.
That's what's important.
Yeah. So what kind of evidence do you have that anybody else besides the hijackers and Al-Qaeda are responsible in any way with what happened on September 11th? Where's the hard evidence?
All right. Well, let me do something for you. I'm going to give you a list of 3 facts, and I want to see what you take of it. All right?
All right.
Fair enough, sir. Fair enough.
All right. In November 2000, the Pentagon was having drills. Now, this is November 2000, 11 months before September 11th. They were having drills that were referred to as MASCAL, M-A-S-C-A-L.
Mescal?
Yes.
M-A-S-C-A-L.
M-A-S-C-A-L.
Mescal.
You can look it up. It's all over the internet. Those drills use models of the Pentagon, actual models. I've seen pictures of them.
Yeah.
The purpose of the drill was to plan a strategy in the case of an emergency.
Now, isn't it kind of obvious that, of course, the Pentagon would be used because it would be a target?
Right, exactly.
So this is not anything huge or out of the ordinary.
Let me finish.
All right, finish. Fair enough, fair enough.
One emergency was a plane flying into the Pentagon. Now, this is November 2000. Obviously, on September 11th, 2001, according to the official story, a plane flew into the Pentagon. However, when Condoleezza Rice testified, she said, and I quote, "No one could have imagined them taking a plane and slamming it into a Pentagon."
Yeah, but she's black. You can't believe it.
I mean... Come on now. That's ridiculous. No one could have imagined it.
Hey, do you smoke a lot of pot?
No, I don't smoke any pot.
No.
Well,
know.
what about the wing damage that didn't occur on the Pentagon? That's a question I have.
I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
What about the wing damage that didn't occur on the Pentagon? Like they're saying that's part of the proof that the plane didn't hit the Pentagon because there's no wing damage on the plane. On the
Actually,
on the
I have
building.
a film of an F-16 fighter pilot being driven into a wall,
Shut up.
and it literally disintegrated on impact. I have a friend by the name of John Judge, who's
no
the co-founder of 9/11 Citizens Watch, who has a friend who was a stewardess on that flight.
He's not a friend. He's just
And
another
she
guy
went
who
to the
doesn't
Pentagon
get pussy.
that day, saw upholstery that she recognized. She saw windows that she recognized. She saw the dead bodies. I mean, it was definitely a plane that hit the Pentagon. That's why I don't like to focus on those things, because it takes it away from what you're trying to
What are you
accomplish,
focusing on besides boring everyone?
if that makes any sense.
Well, what are you saying then? I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying that there's no big conspiracy thing. You want to stay away from things like missiles and planes that don't exist. But you're not.
Let's talk about.
What's your point on this whole thing?
My point on this whole thing is that the government was compliant in some way, shape, or form with the events of 9/11. I mean, look at who benefited from it.
Who? Bell Helicopter? Who?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Look at who benefited from it.
Who?
If you look at the actions of the Bush administration after 9/11, they look more guilty than they do for their actions prior to 9/11. I mean, they literally used 9/11 to further their agenda.
Well, does that necessarily mean that you were involved in something? Even if you use something to your advantage after it happens, does that mean you were involved with it happening?
Well, it's
like
obvious
taking lemons and making lemonade.
Attaboy, Ant.
You didn't grow the lemons.
It's obvious that when Bush first came into office, his main objective, and according to Paul O'Neill, who I quote, said
Paul O'Neill is better
because
he retired and they replaced him in right field.
His inauguration. Paul O'Neill, who was the Treasury Secretary at the time, said it was about finding a way to do it. That was the tone of the president saying, "Go find me a way to do this."
To get into Iraq, you're talking about.
This is Iraq.
There were 20,000 other ways to get into Iraq besides being involved with the killing a few thousand Americans.
But would we have gone into Iraq or Afghanistan had 9/11 not happened?
Maybe not Afghanistan, but definitely Iraq. We'd have been there. We had enough reason.
Why would we have gone into Iraq?
The same reason we went: weapons of mass destruction, breaking the UN sanctions.
There were no weapons of mass destruction.
But the excuse
I'm
was
not
used.
saying there were. I'm saying the excuses to go into Iraq has nothing to do with 9/11.
It has everything to do with 9/11
no, it
based
doesn't.
on what they were saying.
The friggin' UN sanctions were enough to get us back into Iraq if a president really wanted to get back in there. The 9/11 to even think that the government in any way, shape, or form had any knowledge or involvement in 9/11 is crazy kind of conspiracy theorist nut job stuff to spew.
I don't agree. I think this guy might. Sir, do you have any evidence that kind of points in that direction?
Evidence.
I have several evidence. I mean, I have a
Several
friend
evidences?
of mine by the name of Mary Schneider, who was
She a fucking
a whistleblower.
a maintenance
She's currently-
person on one
she's
day
gonna
at a
be
time?
fired soon.
Hey, Mrs.
She
Romano.
came out basically.
Dummy, shut up.
In 1998, she started sending letters to the Department of Justice and the FBI and so forth, saying that there were sham marriages taking place, meaning that.
Oh my God, you're a kook.
What does this have to do?
Sham marriages?
Go ahead. Let him continue.
Let him
this.
finish. I
I'm
wanna hear
fascinated
it.
where this is going
I
to go.
want to hear this.
All right. There were sham marriages taking place, which means that people were coming out of the country and marrying somebody and for citizenship.
Yeah.
And the people at the INS were taking bribes of $10,000 and more.
Okay.
To get these marriages into place.
All right.
And
This all seems like it could happen, and it's fine and well, and it probably has and does happen.
Okay.
Yes,
absolutely.
continue.
So one of the things that she found out was that Khalil bin Laden, Osama bin Laden's brother, was associated with one of the sham marriage participants by the name of Liazid Abid.
All right.
Who married Christine Sharrett for citizenship.
And he did a movie with Kevin Bacon.
Exactly.
See how it all connects?
Absolutely. See, look at you guys. You're awesome. No, basically, he married Christine
Oh, my
Sharrett
God.
to get
Shut up.
citizenship.
Yeah.
Yazid Abid was the chauffeur.
Dude, you've lost everybody.
Yeah,
Hold on.
You just
Hold on,
lost
let me finish.
everybody.
your line of connection to how the government was involved in 9/11.
You
Yeah.
have a friend of a friend.
You
You're
lost
asking
who
for
has a
evidence, and I'm
friend.
giving it to you.
You already lost it, though. That's not evidence. You've gone too far already for it to even be evidence.
You mentioned the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
You tied in the Stebbins freeway sign.
I did that to prove a point, but what I'm saying is Mary Schneider, Khalil bin Laden had associations with Mohammed Atta. Do you remember him?
Of
Yeah,
course.
see, yeah, the
Hijacker.
pilot that flew into the first building.
All right, Khalil bin
I used to
Laden
play
was flown
pinochle
out
with
of
him.
the country on September 19th, 2001 under White House approval. Now, why would they do that? Why the hell
Because he
would they do
obviously
that?
was very good with his hands and they needed work done.
Why would you let somebody associated with it? I mean, for crying out loud, Cat Stevens was turned away.
Hey,
Yeah,
easy with that kind of language.
After 9/11, the pre-9/11 mindset was this stuff happened. It wasn't really priority. Should it have been? Of course. Does it mean you're involved? No. It means that there were some stupid people who let a lot of things slip by that shouldn't have. And in hindsight, it now makes sense that we should have looked into it. Does it mean that they were involved? There's no evidence.
All right, let me ask you
you
a
know
question.
something? If you had some clear evidence, I would go, wow, and let me consider
Absolutely.
that. It really does seem like there was involvement. I've
but
heard
to
these.
explain it to
I've
you-
heard these theories before, over and over again, and there's never, ever, ever any evidence.
Can I ask you something, Jonathan? This is what bugs me about you mentioned the Kennedy assassination. The reason that's an interesting conspiracy is because there is something like the Zapruder film or Commander Humes and the statements he made in the autopsy room that were overheard by Siebert and O'Neill, the FBI agents. There's all this stuff. There's nothing that you're giving except for speculation. There's no. You understand what I mean? There's no real
Here's
evidence.
What I recommend doing. Here's what I recommend doing. Go look up Stanley Hilton, who
my
is
God, another name.
Bob Dole's former chief of staff.
Well, I put Hilton in the search engine, but other things keep coming up.
Yeah, some hot blonde giving a blowjob comes up.
Anyway, Stanley Hilton is a lawyer for 400 family members who are suing the Bush administration under the RICO Act. Ellen Mariani is another one.
Right.
Yeah, see, I'm George W. Bush, see? You never get me, you lousy screw.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous. All
right.
Believe me, this is absolutely ridiculous.
All right, listen.
Jonathan, the left has allowed their hatred of Bush to drive them into such a frenzy because
Don't you
he is,
understand? This has nothing to do with Bush. This has nothing to do with politics.
but you just said Bush was a murderer, so it does have something to do with Bush.
Yeah, but it also has something to do with previous administrations. It has to do with our policies in the Middle East.
I know we brought it on ourselves. You're giving the whole let's go for the root cause argument. We brought it on ourselves somehow. Why? Because we support Israel. Because we have troops in Saudi Arabia. That's the whole guilty left. We brought it on ourselves argument.
You know
All
what a
right, well, let me ask you a
hero
question.
you'd be if you
The
exposed
9/11
the
the
9/11
Commission.
plot?
Let me ask you a question. The 9/11 Commission refused to follow any of the funding of 9/11. Now, isn't the first rule in any investigation to follow the money?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I'm just
they
saying,
did
yeah, I
not
don't know what the
do
first
that.
rule of investigation is.
They didn't do it. And do you know why?
No, why?
Because countries like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan partially funded 9/11.
Now that I could grab a hold of.
Yes, I could, too.
I absolutely think Saudi Arabia was involved in some way. But
All right,
don't
listen to this.
don't stop. No, I'm not going to listen to a 10-degree separation between Saudi Arabia and George Bush or anyone else. I've heard it before, sir.
Yeah, we got listeners that want in on this. James in Tennessee. Go ahead, James. You're on with Jonathan.
Man, this guy, he has got absolutely nothing. I mean, what the hell evidence is he even talking about? God damn.
Well, there
Well,
you go.
I
The
could
truckers have
barely hear that
spoken.
guy.
What the hell evidence do you have?
Pat from Buffalo.
Hey, this guy is a friend of a friend who saw upholstery, but I have a friend of a friend of a friend who was in a convention in Las Vegas and went up to a hotel room and got their kidney taken out.
Wow, I know that guy. And he
Hey, do you
woke
know
up and there was a
Karen-
note that said, get to the
Karen
hospital.
Kwiatkowski.
Wait, is that when Mohammed Atta was on an elevator and he said, hit the floor, and they laid on the actual floor, but he was just sent them roses later because he was just telling him to hit the floor he was going to?
All right, listen. Karen Kwiatkowski was a colonel who was working at the Pentagon.
Another
She-
name we have to look
Wait,
at.
let's just say a benefactor is General
there's a
Y.
lot, but let me finish.
Okay.
She was working at
Shut
the
up.
Pentagon on the day of 9/11.
Uh-huh.
I met this woman this past anniversary, in Washington, D.C., and she cries to this day when telling the story about how a plane came into the Pentagon and killed a lot of her friends.
Yeah.
And it sickens me.
Well,
But what's that got to do with anything?
Because that happened.
The reason
There's
that
a million of those stories.
I'm willing to
resigned
believe
because
that happened.
The Pentagon was manipulating information to get into the war into the Iraq.
Jim from Tennessee, go ahead.
Get the fucking nut off my radio.
Now, you got to let him talk. You know, I mean, I just
Oh
want
my
to get
God.
some evidence.
I swear to God, he just hung
He
up
hung
on
up.
himself.
He hasn't.
I'm sorry, he just hung up on himself.
He hung up.
Figures. That's what they do on the left. Whenever challenged on their evidence, they panic and run away. That's why they only want to go on shows like Air America and other liberal stations that won't question their idiocy.
What happened?
Bush did use Al-Qaeda, a connection, and 9/11 to justify the war in Iraq after the weapons of mass destruction story fell apart.
There you go.
But not to get into Iraq. There were plenty of reasons to get into Iraq. Plenty of, bullshit reasons that they could have pulled out of their ass.
All right, he's back.
Oh,
The
you're back.
Nazis
Okay.
in Nuremberg were tried specifically because they preemptively struck or invaded another country. That's against the law.
I'm not
That is
saying...
against the law.
Dude, I'm not saying the attack in Iraq was good, justified, legal, or anything. I'm just saying the 9/11 events had nothing to do with Bush going into Iraq.
Then why did Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and Condoleezza Rice try to tie Iraq to
They
Al-Qaeda,
did that
to
after
9/11?
they were doing that to justify their story when the
They were
weapons of mass
using
destruction
keywords
thing fell
like
apart.
Terror and terrorists and war on
Of
terror.
course, because it worked for them. It worked to get them into Iraq. It doesn't mean they were responsible for 9/11. They used 9/11 to bolster
What
their
about
case
the warnings?
to go
What
into
about
Iraq.
all of the warnings that said that 9/11 was going to take place? I mean, there's a multitude.
What warning?
It almost took place in '93. I mean, on Clinton's watch, except only 6 people died. 'Cause they didn't know how to set the explosives.
Yeah, a warning.
And isn't that a shame that 6 people don't warrant a commission, but 3,000 do?
Well, can you not see the difference between 6 and 3,000? When's the last time
Absolutely.
3,000 people were killed in a car accident? I'm not saying that it's right, but there is a difference between 6 and 3,000. And you know
Absolutely
that.
there is. And it's a shame that we conceive it that way.
Well, I know. The world's an awful place. So let me ask you a question. What root causes do you think contributed to 9/11 then? What fault of the U.S.? What Middle East policy? I know to re-examine the Middle East policy,
Well,
the
it's
left
very
always
simple.
says.
The U.S. policies in regards to the Middle East favor the minority, which happens to be Israel.
Uh-huh. God,
And
the left is so
the
predictable.
only civilized democratic country in the area.
So you're saying
So
that...
we're siding with the people that aren't filthy animals that are trying to kill us constantly.
Right.
Wow,
You know,
what a
basically
surprise.
what's happening. I mean, who supports Israel more than any other country?
United States.
U.S.
Okay, who within the United States supports Israel more than any other people?
Don't say Jews.
It's not the Jews.
Right,
It's the
absolutely.
Southern Baptists, Catholics, Christians, people who believe that the Jews have to be in Israel in order for Jesus to return. I mean, that's ridiculous.
No, it's more of a military ideology because we have a foothold in the Middle
It's
East.
absolutely that. It's a matter of security and, the religious thing.
And let me ask you a question. Do you know how much oil we have left?
How much?
this one.
I'm sure you know. How much?
I get tons of
by all
emails about this one,
estimations,
too.
there's about 60 to 90 years left of oil.
Uh-huh.
60 to 90 years left. That doesn't include growth, more people on the road, more people buying cars.
And this ties into 9/11 House, sir.
Well, because we need it. We're here, and our oil and resources are over there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We'll be gone. Who cares?
You're only spouting rhetoric. You're not bringing any evidence. It's all rhetoric.
Right.
It's
All right.
all passion and emotion, but no
All
evidence.
right, Randy the trucker. Go ahead, Randy.
Hey, man, I love you guys, but this guy's got more air coming out of him than my train horns. Okay?
Hey, easy with that type of criticism, Randy. Don't be so strong. This guy's a windbag. Jesus.
Jesus, man.
All right, yeah. We got to wrap this thing up, Jonathan.
All right, here's what I'll tell you. The 9/11 families got together a list of 400 questions, 400 well-researched questions. These are the people that made Washington, D.C. open the 9/11 Commission.
Uh-huh.
The 9/11 Commission only answered about, I believe, 14 of those 400 answers. This past week, about 40 family members and about 100 prominent people signed a letter to Attorney General Elliot Spitzer asking him to reopen the 9/11 investigation. About 2 months ago, a Zogby poll was run that said New York City believes that the government consciously failed to act to prevent the attacks of 9/11.
Consciously
And
failed to
66
react. Yeah, sure.
66% of them think the investigation should be reopened.
Yeah, well, the American public also thinks American Idol is a terrific show. What does that mean?
No,
Stop with the Israeli argument. Stop with the Israel argument. It doesn't hold water. Bin Laden predominantly hates the United States because we have troops in the Arabian Peninsula. It's not about Israel. If it was about Israel, they would help the Palestinians, but they don't help the Palestinians. They don't give a shit about the Palestinians. What?
Have you ever read Osama's 1996 fatwa?
Yeah, but it was really predictable and hacky, and I fell asleep before it ended, and then I loaned it out and never got it back.
I got the
So you're basically saying it didn't happen because you say so.
What I'm saying is I get tired of that same trite argument from the left because you're legitimizing the motives of the people doing it, saying that their reasoning is real.
Well, shouldn't there be accountability? I mean, Jesus Christ.
There is accountability. He's a religious fanatic.
People died, and not one single person has been held accountable.
Yeah, one person has been held accountable. Yes. Bin Laden, Mullah Omar, Al-Zawahiri, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. A lot of people have been held accountable.
The whole Taliban government?
Well, yeah, exactly.
We're talking about people who were inept in their jobs, in the government.
You can say that.
George Tenet stepped down as he should have.
You can say they were inept in their work, that they should have seen this, that the signs were there, but to turn that into they were involved is ridiculous.
You're trying to marry yourself, Jonathan. You're trying to marry yourself to the tragedy to stand out and be the guy that figured out what nobody else could see. You're trying to somehow capitalize.
It's not just me.
A bunch of people like you,
right?
There's not millions.
Believe me, there's nothing new in your argument. I've been emailed this crap in my inbox for 4 years now.
Not one piece of evidence.
Why all the sudden interest?
There isn't a sudden interest.
Because people...
If you've been emailed this crap for 4 years, then why have me on the show? Because you want to hear about it.
We wanted to hear if you had anything new, any bit of evidence that makes sense other than just left-wing idiotic rhetoric. Well, we were giving you a chance to prove your point.
I sent Ben and I sent Steve proof of a 9/11 cover-up.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
What proof did you send?
I sent them a flight manifest that shows Khalil bin Laden left the country. I showed that Khalil bin Laden had affiliations with Mohammed Atta. I sent this all to them.
This is nothing.
That's not proof.
It's nothing.
That the government was behind 9/11.
Well,
here's the question. Here's the questions you emailed. Jonathan, these are the questions you emailed Ben for us to ask. How did you get interested in the truth about 9/11? Not that it's not fascinating to hear about your thought process. Question 2, why did 9/11 happen? Question 3, who benefited from 9/11? Question 4, what did the August 6th PDB talk about? What is the PDB?
No, you had to ask him that. Oh.
I don't really care. Number 5, what about the put options that were purchased on American and United Airlines on September 9th and September 10th?
Right.
Number 6, who financed? Number 6, who financed 9/11?
Pakistan, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not going to argue with that. Number 7, do you agree with the 9/11 Commission's findings?
Not at all.
I'm kind of asking
a
as a
layer
joke.
of bureaucracy to a system that's fully bureaucratic.
And fascinating question. This is the type of monologue you have alone on your couch. Like you've dreamed about being asked these questions in front of a Senate subcommittee and finally being important. These are the type of things while you're squeezing a log on the bowl, you sit there and pretend you're talking and being an important person. You're like the Ronnie Kovacs of the 9/11, and it's ridiculous. Here you go, number 8.
See, lucky for me, your opinion of me really doesn't matter.
I know, opinions are like buttholes, aren't they? My opinion does matter, sir.
Oh, it does? Why?
Because I'm a Jew and I'm responsible for 9/11. You jackass, shut up, left-wing psychopath. At least the Kennedy assassination conspiracy theorists have evidence.
Hey,
that's 40 years ago, and they have more evidence than you have about something that happened 3 years ago.
First of all, thanks for having me on. But, this is absolutely ridiculous for you to think that your opinion matters. I mean, Christ.
Well, why do you think yours matters?
Who's buying Sirius stock and who's buying XM stock? Tell me that.
What?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? It means that your opinion means shit because people are going to Sirius and not XM.
Are they really?
And XM stock is at
God,
what?
are you insane?
Oh, he hung up. That was his idea. Of the
XM
big
stock, by the way, $33 and change.
33.5.
Sirius stock is
$384 about.
About $380. So who's buying what?
Who cares?
What?
I'll tell you who's buying Syria stock. Bin Laden and Mohammed Atta. You fucking idiot. Shut up.
And Sirius stock, you know, I love how his argument had to come down to nya, 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 nya. And how diluted is Sirius stock? There's a billion, gazillion shares of Sirius stock out there.
That stupid, guilty liberal, we brought it on ourselves, dog shit argument.
What an ass.
God, that bugs me.
Ooh, that was nice, getting all riled up.
It's just, I've heard it before. We know what it is.
It's the same argument.
That guilty, Jew-hating nonsense. And that's what that is, that hatred of Israel. And it's irritating.
You know what? We're going to have to go to CNN now for dick jokes. Thanks,
know.
guys. Thanks.
Sorry.
That guy.
Ugh.
Just an ass.
We gave him a shot.
Just wants to mean something. Just wants to be before that subcommittee. What do you think, Mr. Gold? I'll tell you what I think and what I've been thinking alone instead of getting laid all these years.
Mr. Chairman.
This committee owes Jonathan Gold an apology, Senator. It was between the brothers, Kay, Khalid and Osama.
Yeah, I was a buffer.
Yeah, I worked with his father in the construction business in Saudi Arabia. You fucking idiot! Shut up. Syria stock is better. Click. Ugh. Hey, buddy, did you hear what I said to them? You fucking conspiracy asshole. Shut your face. Holy shit. What a bore. What a predictable, guilty, American-hating bore. And I'm not saying Saudi Arabia shouldn't be bombed, because we really should murder everybody in that fucking awful country. Mm-hmm. God, do I get so sick of hearing that trite shit. All emotional nonsense.
You ask him for evidence, and he goes into this whole thing about, well, there was marriage, sham marriage. What? What?
Sham marriages. Dom Herrera was in one. Was he responsible, you fucking idiot?
Are we done?
Had it.
That really irritated me.
We're done.
I want to give the guy a chance to talk and to express his opinion, but he had nothing. Well, who's the most hated people in the Middle East? I don't know. Pakistan hates India. India hates Pakistan. How is that the Jews' fault? They're fighting over that shitty piece of land, which is worth less than Staten Island real estate-wise. But that's apparently imperialist America's fault. Fucking dullard.